It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We take your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. If you hear Governor Gavin Newsom speak in pretty much any speech, any public event, he will say that California's original sin is the lack of affordable housing. One of the solutions to the lack of affordable housing is ADUs, accessory dwelling units, a granny flat, a tiny home that you put in your yard if you've got the room for it, converting your single family home into a duplex or a triplex. These are seemed as much simpler solutions and quicker solutions than building a whole bunch of housing and expanding into neighborhoods and turning single family neighborhoods into massive towering apartment buildings. I don't know how successful this has been yet. I know that originally the output of ADUs was pretty anemic when the laws were passed, but I do want to hear from you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. What are the experiences like if you've put in an ADU or you're thinking about it or you're going through the process? Because sometimes I think about it. I mean, I like my house, but, we live in a 4-bedroom. 2 of the bedrooms are offices. 1 of the bedroom is a bedroom. 1's a guest room that hardly ever gets used. I sometimes think to myself, I wonder, would it be worth it to connect that bedroom to the garage, get rid of all of our hoarding junk in the garage, and turn that into a second unit? Or would that piss off all my neighbors because now that's extra parking and all the other nonsense that goes with it? And I don't know if I want to be a landlord. But then I look at my mortgage statement and my property insurance and my property taxes, and I think, boy, I could be knocking a whole lot off of this bill. So if you've got any experience with ADUs, I want to talk to you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Of course, with any major construction project, one of the biggest hurdles is choosing the right contractor. And unfortunately, for a lot of people in California who went with a company called Anchor, they got shipwrecked. What do I mean? I mean a company that was supposed to be solely for the construction of ADUs and tiny homes, collected over $100 million in orders, and then stiffed everybody. There's a great investigative report on this from Dan Noyes at KGO.
I think that becoming a billionaire is a worthy goal because in order for that to happen, I'm going to have to become a completely different version of who I am today.
Okay, that's the CEO of this company, and he's already one of the biggest a-holes I've ever heard in my life. I think it would be a worthy goal to become a billionaire.
On his podcast and frequent social media posts, this Northern California man dreamed of becoming a billionaire by selling tiny homes. But now his offices are closed and hundreds of customers across the country are wondering where their money went.
Yeah, the I-Team's Dan Noyes has been investigating and joins us with the latest. Dan.
People wanted to do their part. They wanted to help with the housing crisis. They wanted to maybe make a little extra money. In places like San Jose, you can actually divide your lot and sell parts of it. That's wild. I think they're the only place that has opted into that yet. But so many people gave thousands and thousands of dollars to this contractor, and now they've just got a hole in the ground.
Well, Amma and Dan, for someone who loved to appear on social media, Colton Paulus has been very difficult to reach. And many people want to talk to him. Customers, employees, contractors, and several hard money lenders to whom he owes money.
I'm deaf with cochlear implants and a teacher of the deaf in Hayward.
You victimized a deaf woman who teaches the deaf? This man has no soul.
After more than 20 years of teaching, Margot Simpson is planning for retirement. To make some extra money, she thought she had a perfect spot for an ADU, or accessory dwelling unit.
I have a 1,000-square-foot house on a 10,000-square-foot lot.
Okay, how many times a day is a developer knocking on her house asking to buy the property so they can knock it down?
She wanted to move a renter from her spare bedroom to the ADU to make space for one of her students she is fostering.
Okay, this woman is an absolute saint.
Margot hired Anchored Tiny Homes to build the ADU and gave them $28,000 to start, but it's all gone.
Well, it's my retirement.
Their offices in Fair Oaks closed before she could even break ground. Last week, I spotted tiny home plans sitting on the floor and missed delivery notices at the door.
Where's your foster daughter staying now? She's staying in your bedroom?
She stays in my bedroom. I sleep here.
On the chair?
In the chair. And that's fine. But the ADU was supposed to solve that.
She took her life savings to create this great plan where she could have a little passive income and still help the people she's trying to help. Remember, this is a deaf woman, but the 28 grand she gave the crooked contractor spent it all without actually doing any construction on the ADU. Now, this is obviously not the norm. This is the exception to the rule. There are plenty of legitimate contractors out there, but little cautionary tale. Make sure you know who you're working with. But while we go through this story, we find out what happened to this anchor tiny home construction company. I want to hear from you, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. ADUs are supposed to solve the affordable housing crisis in California. Have you built one? Are you thinking about building one? Or do you think they're going to destroy your neighborhood because that's way too many cars and way too many toilets? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Dale in Culver City. Dale, hello.
Hey, Reddy, you know what? I happen to be able to look at a lot of ADUs here in Culver City, and some of them are really big, super nice. Some of them will build a house and build a mini ADU in the house and build a big ADU and a garage in the back of the house. Some people just convert their garages, but what they don't do is they don't add any parking anywhere.
That is the number one complaint I have heard from so many people. I was just on the phone with my mother today, and she told me about somebody in Burbank where that is the major complaint. If I was going to do it, I would make sure to pave a new driveway so there was a place for the car of the renter, because the last thing that I want to do is make the parking in this neighborhood even more miserable than it is.
Yeah, some of these guys build really super, super nice ADUs, two-story ADUs. Then there's other guys like that anchor company you were just talking about they're not very good.
Yeah, these people built almost $100 million and didn't do a whole lot of actual work. We'll get to more of that story later. Thanks so much for the call, Dale. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think that would be a great rule. If you're going to build an ADU, you have to figure out parking. If you've got the space to build a little unit, you've got to have the space somewhere for a little driveway, something, because if you're just adding more curb parking, that is going to piss off your neighbors. And the last thing you want to do is piss off your neighbors. That just makes things real uncomfortable. Those are the kind of things I think about if I was ever going to go down this road. But you got any experience with ADUs? You're thinking of building one. You did build one. I'd love to hear from you at 800-222-KABC. It's supposed to solve the housing crisis. 800-222-5222. Let's go to Miroslav in San Diego. Miroslav, hello.
Hi. Okay, I'm not a native English speaker, but I'm going to put this very simple. 20 years I'm in San Diego. I can see the population change here. So who is eligible to get this model home? I guess we are talking about some affordable model home for some eligible people. Who is that? Who is that group? What group is under that eligibility to get that? I believe everybody else will be excluded, and I think that's one more trick of the communists to bring these immigration right on money and to give them these houses. Next day they will sell that for $500,000, for $1 million. And the real people that pay taxes and buy houses for $500,000 cannot compete with this. So
well, it's interesting that you say that, Miroslav.
Yes.
Miroslav, let me just say
Yes.
Something that you're pointing out is when you hear about all the construction that's being done, you always hear about affordable housing. A lot of that affordable housing, whether it's stuff that gets bought up by cities or counties or master leased, it doesn't add to the housing stock for market rate, which means that while they have select housing that might be for the homeless, it might be for people with certain income restrictions, the average person that's making a living, their housing stock never seems to increase, which is why the price of housing continues to go up monumentally. For instance, I live in a neighborhood with single-family homes that was built in the 50s. When you see new housing developments, they do not build one-story single-family homes. They say the land is too expensive. The only way to make your money's worth is with a massive 2-story, 6-bedroom house that's going to cost $1.5 million. So if they're not building any 4-bedroom, single-story houses, well, then these become rarer than ever, and these are going to keep going up in value and making them even more unaffordable because they're not buying that level of entry-level housing. They're just not building it.
Okay, I think I'm a little off. What is that housing look like? But I know for a fact the communists will always find a way to grant their people that vote for them. They will come with some law tomorrow to give them this affordable housing. I bet that's the plan. And do not understand what's going on behind the scene. So I have job. I can pay my bills, but I'm looking where this California is going to. So I think that more affordable housing coming from budget, and then tomorrow it is always possible to turn that by the law and to give that affordable for affordable price for the people that are eligible. And who are eligible? This is capitalism. We all
You make a great point. Miroslav, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it, buddy. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you've got some experience with ADUs in your neighborhood, you're building one, you're thinking of building one, or your neighbors built one, and all of a sudden there's no parking, I'd love to hear about it. 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. I think we have one in our neighborhood, and it's not directly in the circle that we're in, but it's the next street over, and it's on a corner house. And I don't know what it is. This house likes to make a lot of noise, makes to do a lot of construction. They've got some dirt truck in front of their house right now. There's dirt all over the street. I don't know what's going on over there. That's the one problem house. Let's go to Christine in Porter Ranch. I love Porter Ranch. Christine, hello.
Hello there. Thank you for taking my call. We have a nightmare in our backyard. We've lived here about 28 years. We're on large lots, average about 12,000 square feet, all one-story homes, with the exception of maybe over the years 2 neighbors that put a second story over a garage that aren't even near me and I don't care about. Some people with the ADU thing a few years back turned their garages into ADUs. Again, doesn't faze me, doesn't change the neighborhood. The affordable housing thing, apparently from what I understand from speaking to city people after what happened to me, is the city council and Mayor Bass apparently created this SB 9 law that allows people now to not only build the ADUs, but they can build a second home, which really is a third because there's already a house there, and call it under the SB 9, where they can actually subdivide the lot and sell it as a completely separate home and lot. What the people did behind me, they think they're helping with affordable housing. They're not. A developer who's doesn't care about making affordable housing for people bought the lot behind us. He's renting out. He doesn't even have to live on the property to do this. He's renting out the current house for $4,000 a month. He built a roughly 400 square foot rec room behind the garage, and two-story 1,400 square foot homes that we've been dealing with months of construction of and have to look at now instead of seeing open sky and trees that we used to enjoy in the almost 30 years we've been in this neighborhood, and why we chose this neighborhood. The privacy of our yard, people not looking down on us in 2-story homes. Now I've got two-story, 1,400 square foot homes behind me. Not only do these people not consider parking like you were discussing, but these homes are also going to need trash cans. We've already got multiple people, with people taking in aging parents, kids maybe that still need to live at home, We already have a lot of homes that have more trash cans than people used to. Now you've got 3 1,400 square foot homes on one 12,000 square foot lot, and they're all going to need trash cans. So,
and there's sewer on top of that.
There's sewer. Yes, we already deal with issues with our home being older, like 1960 it was built. So we have to regularly have plumber out to like snake the main line and all of that stuff. So yes, crime, like I pointed out to the city person, I said, it's one thing if they're building or reconstructing or redesigning, whatever they do. They build an apartment building or a condominium, whether it's for affordable housing or a developer to just make money off renters. It's a planned thing where they build parking structures and parking spaces for residents, and they have dumpsters and ways to handle the volume of the trash, and it works. But now they're trying to squeeze all these people into a neighborhood that wasn't planned to have 20,000 people in it. And I can't even tell you how mad I am.
I can imagine. I mean, you plan on spending your whole life there, and now you don't have the privacy that you thought you have in your own backyard because there's somebody above you looking in.
Yes, two-story homes with windows all looking down on us. Construction still going on months later. They're working on the interior now. They just did something to the outside. I don't know how much longer the construction is going to be going, and then people will start coming to look and rent, look at it to rent, and then we'll have all these new people. We don't know who they are, and creepy or not, looking at us day and night into my open windows that because we have a nice yard, we have French doors and kitchen window all uncovered because we've always just seen our yard and the sky and trees. And now we've got two-story homes behind us, and we had no say, no voter input. The city just decided, thinking, oh, yeah, we're helping affordable housing. No, you're not. You're helping this developer who's going to probably make $15,000 or $20,000 a month on 3 or 4 rentals.
Oh, you're totally right. And Karen Bass, when she got into office and declared the emergency, she started signing all these executive orders that pretty much waive zoning laws. So there's a neighborhood in Sherman Oaks where they're demolishing a single family home and wanting to put up a 7-story apartment building on a cul-de-sac in a single family neighborhood. What is that going to do?
Oh, my Lord. Yeah, I'd be out there picketing for sure. I wish that I knew all of this was even going on. Like I said, without voter input, we didn't even know that this law was being changed. It wasn't something we all got to hear about, vote on. So it just happened. It's like you get no say. We're going to sell to whoever we want. They can build whatever they want behind you. We were told years ago we couldn't even put a 1-foot topper on our block wall for more privacy because you had to have the neighbor's permission because it's their wall too. Well, I got no say, and now I have two-story homes in my backyard.
This is just some of the horrific side effects of trying to solve the housing crisis. I'm so sorry you're going through that, but thank you so much for sharing your story, Christina. It's really important that people hear this. Thanks so much for the call. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for taking it. Have a great night.
800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Your experience with ADUs in your neighborhood. Did your neighbor build one and it's driving you crazy like that neighbor? Are you trying to build one yourself? Tell me what the experience is like. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. And we'll get to the bottom of the crooked ADU development company that screwed over thousands of California residents. It's all coming up. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. One of the solutions to Californians' affordable housing crisis is building more ADUs in the backyards of single-family homes. If you have any experience with this, if you're building one, you're thinking of building one, I'd love to hear from you. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If a neighbor built one of these and you're not too happy about it, I'd love to hear from you too at 800-222 800-222-5222, and we'll get to the rest of the story of crooked Anchor Tiny Homes development. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Housing is California's original sin, according to Gavin Newsom. One of the tools that we're thinking of using to expand the housing stock is ADUs. Homeowners on single-family lots building a little unit in the back, maybe converting their home to a duplex. We've got a whole lot of laws that have made this easier to do. If you're in the middle of doing this, if you've done it, if you're thinking about doing this, I'd love to hear from you. If one of your neighbors did this and it's driving you crazy, I'd love to hear from you as well. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Susan in Burbank. Susan, hello.
Hi, this is Susan. I wanted to mention, you did mention Governor Newsom. He activated I don't know what you would call it, a zone changing that Governor Brown had created, but Newsom activated it, and it applies to all the properties in California, and the intent was to build affordable housing, but in it's done exactly the opposite because it's allowed builders without meeting any any of the requirements with the infrastructure. They don't have to comply. And so now what it's done is it's increased the property values, because an R1 property might have been a single family home, but now the property has been rezoned, and so you can put 4 units or 6 units on properties. And
you're totally right. With SB 35 and SB 9, any single family lot can be turned into a fourplex if you actually want to go through doing all that. What's interesting that you say, and I always find this fascinating, is if you've listened to Gavin Newsom throughout his entire governorship, the people in the legislature, they all say their number one priority is making housing more affordable. And they have passed law after law after law to achieve that. And you're totally right. Housing keeps getting more expensive.
Yes, because it's increasing the values, which has created a market for developers, not homeowners that want to buy a home to live in, and they're the ones that are making money. And so it's just progressively increasing the values and my understanding is that very few, plus what it's doing is allowing all this development where we have 4 and 6 story and 8 story buildings going up in a small community with single-level apartments or homes.
You're totally right. We've totally eliminated zoning at the local level, and we're going to see what finally happens with this. Thanks so much for the call, Susan. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Tom in Santa Monica. Tom, hello.
Hey, Randy. How are you?
Doing great.
Good. So I'm a contractor by trade, and I'm building an ADU behind my house. I'm doing the drywall now, and they're going to tape. And it's been taking quite a while because my full-time job is building a house in the Santa Monica Canyon. But I could care less about the shortage and the houses problem. I don't mean to be mean, but nobody's going to build. The only way to decrease and get affordable housing is if the government owns the property, owns the building, and let them rent it out for where they are. But nobody's going to take money out of their pocket and build something and then be told what they can charge for it.
Now, Tom, what are you thinking of doing with the one that you're building? Is this going to be for family, or are you thinking of renting it out? What's your plan?
No, we have a 15-square-foot house my wife and I live in, and my son was away in college. And this is a 1,000-square-foot ADU on the second floor. I took a 400-square-foot garage, added 600 square feet to it, and then came up with the second floor. And then that's going to be totally the ADU with separate gas, communal water, but separate gas and separate electrical meter. But one of the most important things I did is when the design came, to make sure there was a parking space, because the access is going to be in the alley. It's somebody that's going to pay $5 or $6 grand a month to rent this thing, because it's 9 blocks from the ocean. They got a place to park. That to me
That
is a
is
really,
very
really
important.
factor.
Wow, you're going to be able to rent this
You're
thing
not
for
gonna
$5
pay
or $6 grand?
$6,000 to drive around for 15 minutes and try to find a parking space.
No, that people do not want that. I think if you're going to build an ADU, you've got to accommodate for parking. I love that you're doing that. Holy cow, you can rent this thing for $5 to $6 grand? That's amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I moved Smooth Trail Stucco. I'm going to pay about $500,000 for the thing, and it's probably I'm adding about 1,600 square feet to the property. I'm leaving the house as it is, but it's I want to start working someday. I'm too old.
I mean, you're thinking ahead of time. Hey, I got a question because you're in the construction business. You're doing this right now. Because someone emailed me, and I don't know the answer to this. If you build an ADU on your property, is property tax, are they going to reassess your property and charge you more for property taxes?
Yes, I think they will. I'm not sure. We thought about that. Of course, I'm increasing the value, but I'm not charging anything money yet. I don't have any income from it. But when we bought our house, my wife and I, back in '98 in Santa Monica, it's paid off. And so we just got a loan just to build this ADU. And, of course, the rent is going to well overpass what our monthly bill is to the bank for the loan. The loan's like $2,300 a month. So my retirement
that's
takes
going to be a nice little nest egg for you.
Yeah, I was hoping you or Phillips would rent it, but, forget it.
We work in radio. We can't afford $5,000 a month. Tom, thanks so much for the call. I love talking to you. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I wonder how many people call him for construction advice all the time. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Yeah, Ed emailed me at randykabc@gmail.com. He thought about doing an ADU, but he's trying to research, will that increase his property taxes? Because he bought his house in 1973, so he pays $700 for property taxes, and I am jealous. But if you're not transferring the owner, and I think if you're splitting the property and you're selling off part of it, maybe. But if you still own the property, maybe they won't reassess. I don't know. Interesting to think about. Let's go to Nick in Temple City. Nick, hello.
Hello. Yeah, people behind me built. They added onto their garage, and they added on a second piece to their property. So I guess there's 2 rentals in the back, maybe 3 on top of the garage. And the issue is, we live in a very desirable school district. They just went from the 3-4 kids they had. There's like 10, 12 kids now coming from this property because the people that are moving in are willing to live one on top of another to get into this school district. And I think a quick think on this would be, if you're going to build a place and your goal is to help the world and help the state of California, you should let just homeless people at the behest of the government move in and live there for a couple of years before you can start charging rent.
You know what's funny? Eric Garcetti had a program like that. It did not end up taking off. It was not popular, but he had a program where we were going to help finance building an ADU in your backyard, but you'd have to house a homeless person for the first 3 years.
Yeah, and it seems to make sense because in the neighborhood that I'm in, every person is just asking, how can I build an ADU? I was in the construction business, connected to the construction business, and all the people that live in my neighborhood are asking me, how do I do this? How do I make it work? And I go, well, take a look at that property over there. There are 6 cars. They buy city permits to be able to park on the street. And that's got to be, I believe it's $120 a year. So that's a small cost for someone who is getting their kids into a very nice school district and don't mind living one on top of another. And they could park in front of their house. It's not really impacted yet, but you do 3 or 4 on the street, it's going to be impacted. I mean, we
I think that
neighborhoods with an understanding.
Yeah, I think that's the fear, Nick. You're totally right, is that neighborhoods could eventually get overwhelmed if so many people are doing this at once because certain services, parking, trash, sewer, they're totally not built for it. Nick, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. We'll keep going with your phone calls, 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang talking ADUs on 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go to Oscar in Hawthorne. Oscar, hello.
How you doing, Randy? Great. Yeah, I overheard, you guys talking on the radio about the ADUs, and yes, I believe that they actually do add taxes to the area that you build new. The new construction definitely is taxed, and also I believe that a lot of people don't understand is that once they get the ADU, you are allowing the city to collect the tax for rental because it's becoming like a duplex sort of, so you would have to pay taxes on that and get permits, if you're within the city of Los Angeles, of course. And some of the neighboring cities are changing to, rent control as well. So most likely they would have to register to rent your unit, And that's what I understand,
That is now sounding like a whole lot more work. Thanks so much for the call, Oscar. Appreciate it. Good to know. I got to imagine if you're worried all about them reassessing and you have a house that was assessed back in the 70s or 80s, that's going to be stopping you from getting one of these ADUs. More of your calls coming up shortly. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go to Brenda in Brea. Brenda, hello.
Oh, hey, I just had a few comments about this ADU situation. First of all, eventually the property tax will go up, so that's a done deal. But also the cars that it brings, so you've got, depending on the size and the number of families that move in, you're going to have more cars. Our area, the homes are, about $2 million and above. We're right off a golf course, but we've got this ADU down the street. The yard's unkept, and I know that's going to be depending on the person, right, who builds the ADU, whether they keep up their yard. But it's been all downhill after this person built this ADU. So I'm really against it. I mean, it's good. I'm worried about my own property value.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to get priced out of our own neighborhoods if everything suddenly is rezoned and developers start buying left and right. Brenda, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Last word on this. Let's go to Laura in the South Bay. Laura, hello.
Hi, I'm for it as long as, like Brenda had pointed out, the cars, there's a way to take care of the car, like they have a parking spot, or I'm a garage parker. I park in my garage. Well, we need a lot of housing units. I have a 29-year-old daughter, and the cost of housing is crazy. I mean, it's just crazy. I just think we need so many more housing units, not only to accommodate, like, the kids that, we have, but immigrants, migrants, whatever, people moving to the coast. I don't know. I just think we need more housing, so I'm for it.
Well, you make such a good point, Laura, in that, it's got to be so difficult to come to the grips with the fact that you raise children here and the kids can't afford to stay here.
No, I know. And literally our plan for her is, this is as crazy as it gets, but when she gets married, the plan is we either help her and her new husband, future husband, buy a house in Italy. That's her dad's like Italian, but we're talking generations back. It's not like he came over recently. Or, let's wait till like grandma passes away and maybe you inherit her house. I mean, it's just crazy that, because there's no way my daughter's going to have well, maybe she could win a lottery, but $1 million for a house, I don't know. At a young age, that's just nuts. I'm sorry. We need a lot more housing. That's my opinion.
I think that's a great opinion. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Oh, my goodness. You imagine that? You get married and you would just all of a sudden decide to move to Italy? A little jealous. That sounds awesome. Thank you all so much for listening. It's such a pleasure doing this show for you every day, connecting with the callers. We have such a good time. If you ever miss any episode of this show, including our Friday happy hour shows, go to kabc.com/newsblitz. Share the show with your friends. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Search for the KABC News Blitz. Give me a review. Give it a like. Tell your friends about this show because we really enjoy doing it. Thank you all so much once again. We do this every single day from 5 to 6. So I will see you tomorrow right here at 5 o'clock for another News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC.